quote, because copyright today covers virtually every sort of human expression, including blog posts, photographs, forum posts, scraps of software code, and government documents, it would be impossible to train today's leading AI models without using copyrighted material. And it's like, yeah, no, it's copyrighted for a reason.
On Sunday, Wizards of the Coast admitted that some of their marketing images recently released supporting their upcoming release of Ravnica Remastered used AI-generated art in the background of the image. Wizards blames one of their creative vendors for using the AI art, but this has led to at least one of the many prolific artists, Dave Raposa, to publicly say he will quit working with Wizards of the Coast. This controversy also comes after a release in the same week that showed allegedly Midjourney CEO David Holtz using magic cards to train an algorithm early in its development. AI art has allegedly been used by Xbox, Fallout, Amazon, Assassin's Creed, and others specifically for marketing. What do we make of this situation, and what do we think is the best next step forward for Wizards of the Coast?
Yeah, this is a fun, weird subject that we got to cover with some of this stuff, because what I find the most interesting here is that they've essentially using PR speak to absolve themselves of any wrongdoing. They're saying it was a process breakdown rather than a creative choice. They're placing all the blame on their external creative and advertising agency, and essentially saying that no one at Wizards of the Coast, maybe marketing and creative departments, reviewed this to sign off. Like, their tweets about all of this stuff have been kind of a little straightforward, but like, I'm a little surprised if nobody would have taken a look at this and went, maybe that's a little weird in their creative department, assuming anybody's left in their creative department, honestly.
I mean, I'm sure there is somebody there. Now, to mildly play devil's advocate, when I first saw, before this all broke out, when I first saw it come across my feed, I am not an artist, nor am I a visual artist or a creative marketer. So nothing jumped out to me immediately. And I noticed that when these things jump out, it's usually artists and other marketing creatives, people like that, who notice the little weird details that sets off the alarm bells that it's AI generated.
There's a couple of these that are like blatantly obvious in this particular one that should have been caught by most people taking a look at the image.
Again, if they did a cursory look and then just went, sure, go.
Wizards released a statement saying, thanks to our diligent community who pointed out a series of recent marketing images may have included elements of generative AI, we are rethinking our process of how we work with vendors and our marketing creative. We already made clear that we require artists, writers, and creatives contributing to Magic TCG to refrain from using AI generative tools to create final Magic products. What now is apparent is that we need to update the way we work with vendors on creative beyond our products, like marketing images we use on social media, to make sure that we're supporting the amazing human ingenuity that is so important to Magic. Along with so many others, we also want to get better at understanding whether and how AI is used in the creative process. We believe everyone benefits from more transparency and better disclosure. We can't promise to be perfect in such a fast evolving space, especially with generative AI becoming the standard in tools such as Photoshop, but our aim is to always come down on the side of human art and artists. I am suspect at that last paragraph because there's not many artists out there that are creating original works of art that are using the AI in Photoshop. Specifically. Like, there has been a ton of people out there that have just been, can I just get Photoshop without that part? Because the number of pop-ups that come up and tell us, like, hey, by the way, did you know you could use our AI generator in here to, like, add a lion drinking from a pond or something like that into your art? Like, it's annoying to most artists that are trying to just use Photoshop for Photoshop. And I think there's a lot of people that are, sort of in the industry as a sort of a sidebar here that, like, are tired of Adobe and other similar products, investing in AI art generators rather than actually improving the product and making it better, for one thing.
Well, and that's another thing. And I saw a lot of this on social media, is like, why is Wizards using external marketing partners? Because it's cheaper. It's cheaper.
Yeah.
And the reason they're using AI generative art at those marketing places is it's cheaper. They're cutting costs.
Yeah.
That's the only thing that matters to them is cut the costs down. We've worked with a lot of artists on IDENTECO and other projects that we've worked. And art is it's not inexpensive. It is the single largest development cost that we've had. Full stop.
to back up a little bit, because you're saying that they're using external marketing partners and stuff. They're very much using external ad agencies from the beginning. We knew that. But when they let go a ton of their people right before Christmas, this is exactly what we said was going to happen. They're probably leaning even more into external temporary hires, contractors, freelancers, you name it, right? And when you integrate those kinds of, or that many different points of contact into the process, it's a little bit harder to do quality assurance across the board, which means you got to be even more diligent, Watsy, before you put things out in the world, because you need to make sure that it is, of a certain quality and a certain, lacking AI. Because the problem that we're having with this particular part is they literally just had to put out a statement about AI cards in Magic and AI art being used, I think, in D&D as well. So they already took a stance that said they weren't going to use AI art, and then they get caught doing it again.
And quite frankly, I don't know what the community is going to do about this, right? We have stuff in our notes about, stop buying the cardboard crack. While I am generally of the opinion that voting with your dollars is the best way to do this, unfortunately, and this is the crappy part that Wizards is doing, is if we stop buying Magic, if we all stop supporting the, Wizards, the other people that are going to get hurt are FLGSs and other businesses, small businesses run by great community people who rely on Magic revenue to keep them alive. I don't trust that the consumers who are not now going to, all right, we're not going to buy Magic, but are you going to go support FLGSs in different ways? You know what I mean? Because it doesn't hurt Wizards.
It could if enough people did something about it. But I think that's where you and I agree that I don't think they will. I think that it's a very narrow group of people who are really paying attention to this right now. And it's people within the creative space, within Tabletop. I think that most run-of-the-mill Magic players barely even know this is happening. So you're saying the outrage that's on Twitter X and stuff like that is the vocal minority?
Yes.
Is kind of what you're getting to for some of this kind of stuff.
I mean, and again, we saw it with the OGL controversy. Look at we did a video about this. You guys can find it on our channel. It didn't hurt them financially. Not really. D&D, I mean, could they have made more money last year? Sure. But it didn't really hurt them. Not to any significant degree. For all the anger and frustration and consternation that came out about the OGL, on my TikTok this week, I've seen about 15 videos of people unboxing the new Deck of Many Things supplement for 5e.
Does it get back? Are you saying that it's getting back to that? We're using D&D because it's the content people are looking for, because the normies out there don't care about OGL or whatever. The cycle continues. The cycle. Yep. The circle of life. It moves
the circle
us all.
of life. It continues, and it sucks. The corporate malfeasance that Hasbro and Wizards of the Coast have exhibited over the last 18 months, no one is more frustrated than me. But I have seen directly through my game store, through talking to creators, through working in this industry, it's not having a major impact.
The question that I sort of pose in some of this too is AR art becoming the standard for this? Because I think, obviously for what I have done for a living and things like that, and what we do as creators, it shouldn't be, because most of it out there is crap. Like a lot of the AI art, there was an article this morning, I think it was in Ars Technica or TechCrunch, one of the two, that was talking about the latest version of Midjourney V6 or something like that becoming almost too real. And of course it got ripped to shreds because people are like, why are you supporting something that is literally scraping copywritten images and trying to circumvent copyright law in America and in other places around the world? This should not necessarily be celebrated from an artistic standpoint. There are plenty of ways and reasons to want to use AI. AI itself is not a bad thing. It's when it comes to AI art is when there becomes a real issue, because of the way and the means that art has in our culture as humans.
And what's really frustrating to me is I think that you would be able to fix some of these problems if the courts and everybody else and our legislature would get off their butts. The OpenAI CEO begged Congress to come up with regulations regarding copyright and all this stuff with AI, with large language models, with all these things. They have been begging for regulatory relief. It's working its way through the courts right now. As of right now, the last case, AI generated content can't be copyrighted. Full stop. You can't do it.
Right.
As of right now. But it's still working its way through the courts. We don't know what the final, adjudication on that is going to happen. And again, I think that part of this is that our Congress and our courts and everybody else, they have to come up with a regulatory framework for AI. What are you even allowed to do with it?
Well, it's interesting too that that OpenAI submitted to the House of Lords in the United Kingdom recently. They are asking for copyright exemption, and their quote that they have coming from The Guardian was basically, quote, because copyright today covers virtually every sort of human expression, including blog posts, photographs, forum posts, scraps of software code, and government documents, it would be impossible to train today's leading AI models without using copyrighted material. And it's like, yeah, no shit. It's copywritten for a reason. Our book is copywritten, for crying out loud. We have an official copyright document from the United States Library of Congress for that exact reason. We don't want people stealing our ideas and our intellectual property. Like, these things took us 9 years to come up with and publish. It is not like we just shit out words one day. And the styles that they are training these AI art models on take years and decades. For Dave, that we mentioned in the opening of this kind of thing, his style is unique to him. And it's not something that necessarily another artist can do. So you get, much like a writer, you get hired for your style and your take on a particular subject. And that's the craft that you were paying for, that is honed over years and years and years of practice. And to have somebody come in and basically say, like, I can write an algorithm that can do just as good or better. That's total horse shit.
It feels like we're going through this same controversy every couple of months.
Well, specifically with Wizards of the Coast, because they can't seem to get out of their own way.
Again, going back to our Wizards of the Coast discussion, I think that the CEO, the head of Wizards, the president of Wizards should be fired.
At some point, the losses in monetary from the rest of Hasbro and things like that stuff should go away too. But like, those little increases can't outweigh the number of PR nightmares that they've had to go through over the last 18 months.
Let's talk about Cynthia Williams, who's the president of Wizards of the Coast and the head of Hasbro Gaming. All you have to do is look at her CV to understand why she was hired and to realize that this is not an accident. All these stupid things that Wizards is doing. I'm looking at Hasbro's investor page right now, and you tell me whether Wizards isn't going to flip around in a year or so when they can get away with it and start using AI-generated content as much as possible. Cynthia has a deep understanding of technology and e-commerce, along with cloud and console-based gaming, with expertise in scaling businesses to drive profitable growth. She was the general manager and VP of the gaming ecosystem commercial team at Microsoft, and then she spent a decade at Amazon, where she led the global growth of their e-commerce direct-to-consumer business fulfillment by Amazon. This is not a person you hire if your focus is analog, old-school style business and the way you're going to do your development. That's not who you hire.
But it's not so there's a bit of a difference. Is you can do modern technology and business and sales, and coming from Amazon, like, that's a good, that is a good model to take in terms of how much they can maximize sales and marketing and things like that. But you can do it while still having your credibility as the largest hirer of writers, artists, and things like that in the tabletop space.
Yeah.
It can be done. I'm not saying and disagreeing with you that saying that she shouldn't. I will just personally say that, seeing what I have seen over my career, let's put it that way. No, I completely understand why the hell this is happening and why some of these oversights, for lack of a better word, could be happening in that, because the absolute push for everything to be productive, I wouldn't be surprised if they're not writing one-pagers for everything that they're doing, and they're looking at every little bit of money that is going in and out of that place, and scrutinizing it, because if I know anything about the company that she comes from, which I do, productivity, scales, all that kind of stuff is the name of the game. And that's all that they did there. And, if they can undercut something by 5 cents, they will. The problem is, again, you can't really do that in this space.
Like what you said, they're going to third-party vendors and things like that because they're looking to cut costs. It is cheaper to hire an outside marketing firm who's working on your stuff than it is to maintain a full marketing department inside your company. Full stop. With all the creatives that requires. Okay? And I'm sorry, Cynthia Williams has overseen everything from the OGL controversy, every bit of this AI stuff, the $1,000 Magic 30th edition proxy debacle, March of the Machine. So I can only come away with one of two conclusions here. She is either asleep at the wheel, or she is putting a massive amount of pressure on her business units, Wizards, D&D, everything else, to the point where they're going to keep doing this stuff to generate as much revenue as possible.
Well, and they just had a round of layoffs, so there's additional paranoia to keep your job. And to, I wouldn't necessarily say cut corners. I'm not trying to put this on anybody at Wizards and things like that, but I could understand how a slip up like this could get through. I'm not saying that it's still not a major screw up, though. But I can say I can understand how, if you're getting constantly pushed from the top down, how it could happen. But if I was Wizards, and I'd be truly worried about my PR image at the moment, because they can actually lose out to things like Lorcana and stuff like that once they get up and running. Like that is entirely a possibility that they can lose their market leadership in so many of the areas. It might take time to erode that, but eroding customer trust is eventually going to take its toll from a PR perspective. And I think that, you know, if they are paying attention, they have a very, and we've said this in a couple of videos now, but they have a very critical year ahead of them with the 30th anniversary of D&D. And if they don't play this right, there's enough people out there, Lord knows, our favorite people for MCDM that just absolutely love to watch our video and give us their opinion on that RPG. But he's made $4 million on that thing. Kudos to him. Congrats to him, because I think he's going to do really, really well with it. And I'm very happy for people who are backing it, getting all their stuff, etc. But that is a huge signal, that, like we said in the video, that is very good for the industry, for competition. And the more and more people, and the more and more people that are backing that and getting things going and stuff like that, frankly, the worse it can be for Wizards in the long run, because it only takes a few game masters, and we know this, you know, DMs, GMs, game runners, you name it. They bring a system that is good to their group, they'll cut tail and play that. It won't have to be D&D. And all of the marketing and advertising in the world will keep some people in there. Like, we're not saying that it's the downfall of these kind of things, but after a while, it does erode customer trust, period. And so the biggest D&D killer might be D&D itself.
Oh no, I fully believe that the biggest controversy, the biggest competitor to 1D&D is going to be 5e.
Yeah.
It's going to be a really interesting year. I'll be curious. We should be getting fourth quarter numbers somewhere at the end of this month. I'll be really, really interested to see what the fourth quarter numbers look like.
I will say, specifically to this instance and specifically to this industry, we made a video a couple of weeks back. If you haven't seen it, we'll link it here. But we called for the writers and designers of D&D and major TTRPGs to unionize. We gave out good reasons why they should. We gave out the reasons why we don't think it will happen. But in this particular instance, I think the artists for things like Magic the Gathering, D&D, and other card games and things like that are freelancing probably should follow a similar suit. They should have protections in there, much like they did for SAG-AFTRA and stuff like that, about the use of AI in creative pursuits.
And not enough people or watch that video of ours. Go watch the video of ours about why these people need to unionize under a SAG-like structure.
Yeah.
Or a Writers Guild, WGA type structure.
All of that. Because this is the entertainment industry, and as Alex is pointing out in a lot of his kind of things, and as we're looking at fourth quarter numbers coming up and stuff, this is a multi-billion-dollar industry that Wizards is profiting from. And not just Wizards, but many others. But Wizards is our focus in this particular video. And to basically kind of start crowding out the people who help you make those $1 billion without any royalties, without any way of getting restitution and payment and stuff like that, and basically allowing them to scrape the images that you make is pretty shitty. For lack of a better phrase, it's shitty. I'm not going to begrudge any artist that continues to work for Wizards after this debacle, because at the end of the day, they've got to make, they got to make rent, they got to eat, they got to do a lot of things, and frankly, they're still some of the biggest people in the industry that can buy their art. with Emerald City Comic Con and many other things, it's convention season and stuff like that, with a lot of those coming out, go buy art from these people at conventions because they make direct dollars from everything they did. And they can sell and sign cards and stuff like that, and they can sell the art and stuff for the most part. There's some differences in there, but they can sell different pieces of art and stuff like that. Go buy art directly from them. They make 100% of those revenues. So that's another way to support the artists while not supporting Wizards of the Coast. So let us know what you think. Drop a comment down below. Of course, if this is the first time you find us, like and subscribe and ring that notification bell so you can see all the rest of our commentary. Thank you, and we'll see you in the next video.